Gentlemen, hi! We're entering a risky period of reviewing others' projects. My own are still under construction, so why not contemplate someone else's? If in the previous episode we considered RussoRiders, which simply stupidly threw a turbocharger into a stock car and it went somewhere, thank God we finished this story and no one was hurt, then this time everything is completely different. Serious people here. Sergei Leonidovich Kabargin's project, Flying Brick, but to put it simply, it's Flying Carp, clearly visible from this profile, guys, completely called Flying Carp. This time, serious people. We have 500, 600, as many horsepower as you want. If you want to install a more powerful engine, now it's something like 500, 600. Rear-wheel drive, semi-slicks, sequential gearbox, carbon, and all this is done here in St. Petersburg, gentlemen. Go!
Music that conveys anxiety and tension, creating an anxious atmosphere through sound.
The whole thing started when Sergei Leonidovich had a desire for something that resembled a mouthful, or a kick in the mouth as we actually call it in our native language. This is where the car construction started, and to attribute it to something specific, although here we see many elements from the same flanker, this is also the rear light with a similar style, other badges, etc. You can't, because a lot of things have changed. Suspension settings have changed, geometry has changed in general, there are some things here and there. In general, the car turned out to be original and isolated. It has a substantial weight because carbon is widely used in its manufacturing, which is once again carried out by Sergei Leonidovich. He personally oversees the production of these parts and their manufacturing process. The basis is a frame structure on a suspension. We have two transverse levers in front and behind us. Sequential gearbox, as I said, well, there can be as many horses as you like here. Now it costs something like 500, 600, before it cost something like 700, 800. In this particular case, these are atmospheric V8 engines, LS engines, and all of this should drive very well. Initially, the concept was still more based on design, so there was no specific task to construct it strictly for drift or strictly for ring. All this concept was defined directly during the project construction. Ultimately, when the car was built and a skilled driver, a true athlete who knows how to drive, got behind the wheel, the car performed exceptionally well. From what we conclude that now the car is still more circular, both in settings and in character. Today we specifically concluded with you at the Igor Drive racetrack. I'm not a racer, naturally I cannot drive, but I can certainly ride it without restricting myself in any way, except for common sense on this day. It's very cool. And the most important thing is that despite the fact that this car is very stylish, elegant, as it often happens with Sergei Leonidovich, you can't argue with anything here. Even just looking at it is already a pleasure in itself. The concept inside and in essence is still twisted. This car is not suitable for city use. You won't be able to drive it every day. In such at least config, it will need to be rebuilt because it is both loud and essentially without a cabin and at maximum lightning and many other things. Let's solve it now.
So gentlemen, we found ourselves in the car.
Here, all is combat ready, helmet required.
Yes, I see, we're leaving now. To start, we need to turn on the ignition. Wait until the dashboard lights up. Make sure we are in neutral. Let's commence. We initiated, everything is crystal clear and there is no ambiguity or confusion. Turn on the headlights to one setting, like this. Sequential box, so we do it once. Then we can initiate movement. I received a warning that there is a glitch in the engine. The engine is experiencing a hiccup and needs to be addressed.
Thus he behaves in a manner.
It will be noisy, friends. I have never driven on this road. I'm not a ring road driver at all. However, in spite of that, let's give it a try. The situation is extremely harsh and challenging, but we should not give up and remain determined. Come on! What emotions, damn it! The clutch is extremely stiff. I can barely handle the pressure. And it starts functioning right away. The moment of engagement is incredibly thin. Guys, this is a troublemaker. Someone who causes issues and creates problems wherever they go. However, it is not the mirrors that please. I am able to see something in them that catches my attention. Very clear. There is no brake booster, so the brakes exclusively operate on the front axle without any additional assistance or support. Now let us attempt to go out. Listen, can we go quickly? I want to reach our destination as soon as possible. Is it feasible to increase our speed? Can we accelerate seriously?
The auditory experience of the music is characterized by the perception of sound emanating from it, creating a sensory impression that can be both pleasing and captivating to the listener. The music evokes emotion, stirs memories, and transports the listener to a different mental and emotional landscape.
Extremely speedy object, damn how she accelerates! Painful. All you have to do is enter a state of relaxation to alleviate the pain. There is no need to worry about it. Look, he is in 5th gear. He always shows off his skills in every turn he takes. Everything is perfectly clear. In reality, generally calm. Look, this is the manner in which you operate the vehicle. I like it. Haha, let's go. Wow.
Subtitle editor Tigorelova corrected.
Incredibly impressive. I'm thoroughly impressed with your outstanding performance. Yes, listen, I comprehend it. I have a preference for driving in the 5th gear. It gives me a sense of control and exhilaration. I truly love driving in the 5th gear. I do not require anything else. That's it. I allowed everyone to pass. Everything is fine. Going straight with comfort.
In reality, what you are currently witnessing is not just a single instance, but rather a vast multiverse of hot rod or flying brick, if you prefer to use that term. Sergei Leonidovich was arriving for the shooting now. We talked to him off camera and he told me that what we are currently witnessing is essentially a track version, which is hardcore, purely for track driving. Well, as you understand, it is impossible to drive such a car in the city seriously. However, even now it can be configured both conditionally as a ring and conditionally as a drift. With the config, there are many things, settings, you can change the reducer and so on, but even we have in fact a steering rod. It can move along the steering rack. In the steering column, we have drilled holes, and the steering linkage can change the steering angle accordingly by rearranging through these holes. But overall, besides that, it is assumed, at least as an idea exists, some civil version of such a machine. Yes, undoubtedly there will be a slightly modified architecture, different engines, there will be a different donor, that is potentially something sourced from Mercedes or something along those lines. But this will undoubtedly also be rear-wheel drive. That is, the car will be, as Sergei Leonidovich says, a fan car. That is, on that car you can also, in theory, come to the track and spend a track day with pleasure, or on the contrary, come to drift. But at the same time, it will also be more comfortable, of course, and with an automatic transmission, and you will be able to drive it in the city. At least these are the far-reaching plans. if we are talking about the fact that now, again, even this car can be easily configured. That is, the gear ratios on the reducers change here. And when this car showed how many guys, I forgot the numbers, at minute 53 it showed here. She showed her with another gearbox, which was longer, and accordingly the maximum speed was also there at 280 on straightaways. Roughly around 290 as per my understanding. The 53rd minute for this racetrack is essentially the measurement of time, as I have comprehended. Not absolutely, of course, but it is already very high on the list, even if you refer to open sources at this moment. Then this car was running on GT4 class tires, but itself essentially is like GT3. Showed the time approximately. And Sergei Leonidovich even has a thought in his head that he needs to further improve the circular indicators of this car so that it ultimately goes even faster. So here he was already fighting for the absolute lap time, which is set in St. Petersburg, here in the Leningrad region, or rather at the Igor Drive racetrack. Which is undeniably very cool, because initially the project was conceived more as a design project, and once again Sergei Leonidovich states that the topic of hot rods concerned him even in his youth, when in the 80s he obtained a magazine with hot rods in his hands. And he was so captivated, you could say, filled with this idea of this style, this image, that even subsequently, in fact, he manually carved out some models of hot rods from wood, envisioned this silhouette for himself, and nurtured his passion for hot rods from that point on. And this, at least, version of the car was repeatedly redesigned in their heads in the design, and in fact the roof became higher and lower in the projects, and a lot of changes were made to it in order to ultimately get as close as possible to his vision, at least of this style. Initially, during the creation of this car, of course, our goal was to drive fast, yes, and everyone always has the desire to drive fast, but nevertheless there were reasonable doubts in my mind, because the aerodynamics of this car does not resemble a circular shape. It's clear, yes, in terms of shape and overall. So there are questions, for example, what's happening with the air behind it. And since the car was not tested in the wind tunnel, that is approximately how these splitters function, approximately how the rear spoiler functions. But for now, in general, there is not much data. However, if necessary, all this can be adjusted, including the same clamping force and everything. That is, for you to understand, this is at least in the conceptual component, not just a single car, if Sergei Leonidovich has enough. And courage, confidence, or some kind of vision that it will really be in demand as much as possible, then all this, of course, is further attached again, as I said, the whole multi-universe. There will be hardcore versions, there will be more urban versions, there will be more comfortable versions. This, I believe, is the most important thing, because when you start a project in modern realities, you understand yourself that we all started with just wanting to go faster, but as you get older, you start to get involved in this topic somehow with experience even, you can say. Not necessarily with age, because age and experience are not the same thing, if anything. So with experience, you start to get involved in this topic and realize that something needs to be invented here. Well, projects used to be simpler, now they are becoming more complex, and now the project is ordinary. This is not just one car ready. And a certain whole ecosystem, if you will, inside of which you should have several cars, several versions of this car. And even under this, some ideology is ideally laid. Sorry? As I mentioned earlier, this aerodynamic body kit was never sold in the store, but it was considered on the computer. That is, all of this even has an explanation in terms of length and width, or usually just Sergei Leonidovich comes and says, I want there to be more.
The group of individuals that can be observed in this particular place consists entirely of the engineers who are under my supervision.
So this specific calculation has been done by you, and that's why it's so wide. No.
Just like that, so with regard to adjustment.
Adjust? So can the clamp be adjusted?
Yes, altering the angle of attack affects the downforce.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. It transpires that absolutely everything is meticulously planned and meticulously orchestrated. Other details in motorsport are also considered. That is, it is clear if we are talking from the point of view of the operation of an ordinary person, yes, there is a button, you open it, the door also opens. It is all wonderful. However, we also have additional buttons here. If at the moment the car, let us say, has a broken mass, yes, you cannot, so to speak, use electric door opening drives, then this can be done mechanically by utilizing this thing. Well, you never know. There are also mass interruption buttons here from the outside and an emergency fire extinguishing button, which I always want to press, and then they will break my legs. However, we will not do that today. Additionally, there is also a fire extinguishing system and a motor there and back. Underneath the hood are these buttons present. What is present there? Come on, come on, come on. Let us go, let us go, let us go now. Right beside, this became interesting. It is interesting here actually. The tank is located at this position. But if we continue to disassemble the car further, here we will actually see what will we see at this location. Here we will see the gearbox, drive and suspension, all of which are also hidden behind carbon panels. Here is where the fuel pump is located, and on the other side we have a tank with hydraulic fluid. And is this the battery? Is this his only battery and that's it? Everything for weight, guys, because the thing weighs only 1 ton. As you comprehend, this carbon is the sole element that differentiates you from the engine. Motor shield, same thickness, if from tank and fuel pump. So yes, definitely for weight, well, there. There is no such thing as soundproofing here. Everything is very noisy, very harsh, very hardcore. Do you know what works best for soundproofing here? It's so cool. Helmet, yes, that is the reason you are not allowed to ride in this area without wearing it, well, logically and sensibly. And it is amusing that even in this location it is simply a decoration, but nonetheless this pseudo window is still inserted and present. Approximately speaking, similar to glass, correct? It appears that when observed in its entirety, this is an authentic machine. Tidy, I like it, cool, everything is light, doors are light, all lids, everything is super light really, everything is cool. And super stylish lanterns, which amazingly also fit here. What I also like is that special fastening elements are pulled out from the tail of the frame here for towing, for anything else. According to emalagation requirements, there must be a loop for emergency situation and towing. It is clear that tolerances and the need for a loop in case of some emergency still exist. However, the fact that it emerges from the frame in this manner, protruding from the carbon, indicates that you have both sleek lines and protruding iron simultaneously. This is a good combination, I like it. In general, from a design perspective, I did not inquire Sergei Leonidovich. I am unaware of the duration, but it appears extremely cool. Seriously, it appears retro and modern as an art form, which, well, like, it's a restomod, in other words. Yes, it's both old and new simultaneously. That's accurate. The subtitles were created by Dima Torzok, gentlemen. There can only be one inevitable conclusion, and it is glaringly obvious. There is no room for debate or uncertainty. The expertise of Dima Torzok shines through in the flawless execution of the subtitles. It is a testament to their skill and dedication. We can confidently say that these subtitles leave no room for interpretation. Dima Torzok's work is truly exemplary. You need to wish Sergei Leonidovich good luck with this project so that all possible situations, gods and structures are in favor of this machine being completed next year, because a slight configuration change is expected. It is also supposed to go, that's what the guys from the team say behind, that the whole winter is ahead. So this vehicle should become more powerful, faster and better to handle. Let's proceed with confidence. The second gear will engage now. Well, this thing should bypass that. Actually, she already bypasses her, but she should bypass her directly for 1 lap more. That's ideal, actually, and most importantly, this project needs to move forward, because such a thing, yes, in the city it is clear that yes, it will be necessary. Well, the collectors will not stick out like that, something tells me, in a serial car, but nevertheless. You all remember this Chrysler. Now I will remember what it was called. Not Pity Cruiser, no. Which was the open wheels one, which we took a photo of near the hotel, and then someone asked us to delete it. Chrysler, come on, I'll put subtitles. In general, it reminds of those motives, and this thing should be available for order today, at least possible. Understood, it is not a serial, it is etc. I will have to redo something, but these features, they are absolutely wonderful. They are absolutely wonderful, gentlemen, and Sergei Leonidovich is great in this regard, that he has been representing since the 80s for 40 years. A person has an idea in his head that he needs to make a hot rod for 40 years. How long are you willing to wait to fulfill your dream? In general, it is extremely interesting, I can say, and it is clear that today it is a projectile. It is probably foolish to evaluate it from the point of view of some operation, but nevertheless, even in what we see today, when I was behind the wheel, there is a view, and to the right and to the left of the view, little back, but it is clear that there will be no wall in the civilian version, and there will be a full glass behind. Accordingly, there will be a rear view mirror. Well, in general, here in principle, even to bring all of this to the city appears to be quite a feasible possibility. It will be good. Thank you all so much for watching this video. See you next time. Good luck to every single one of you. To Sergei Leonidovich again. Even more luck than all of us together. And of course, we will be following the development of events. Goodbye.